For some reason, no matter how hard I tried, I could not get myself to take what I considered to be a good enough photo of this build. I went through so many different iterations. I took pictures from the side, I took some from underneath looking up, some looking down on the water, and for whatever reason, they just did not turn out the way I expected to. So I really wanted to showcase Gateway to the Sea in a video like this, where I can show you it from all angles and really how much fun this build is. This is the second castle I've made since the Schloss. No, this is the first castle I've made since the Schloss Drakkenberg. What the Schloss Drakkenberg taught me is that castles don't have to be gray. They can be so much more. And that's when I fell in love and became addicted to my new favorite color, dark orange. This time around, I wanted to do something even more exciting than what I did with the Drak, and I wanted to bring as many colors as I could into this build. I was thinking about what's the best way to bring color in seamlessly. And so I got this idea of different colored houses. I think I've had the idea to build a multicolored village for a long time, but it was hard to settle on what form that might take. Of course, there's always this idea to do a big landscape piece, but that doesn't always translate very quickly into Lego bricks. A lot of the time it ends up being spent on terrain, which is very time and parts intensive. So I thought about incorporating some verticality. So I've recently been collecting a lot of the 1x2 trans light blue tiles off Bricks and Pieces, because isn't that what everybody's doing? They're constantly sold out, so please guys, save some for me. It's such a beautiful color, right? And there's just so many great blues that have been introduced now. They're just subtle variations of each other, so you can create this pretty fluid gradient, especially when you put the clear pieces over the top. I designed this thinking of it as a playset. The most exciting of those features, perhaps, is the fact that it has full interior. This is something I wanted to do from the start. And interior detailing is so much fun because you get to use all those fun minifigure accessories that we all spend way too much money on. And so it was really, really exciting to bring some of those things out, like one of the old potion bottles from Belleville. These bookshelves, I pretty much stole that idea from the new Diagon Alley. But we also got some fun furniture builds. I do believe I have to credit this chair design to Jonas Cram, but this was done in some of his little interior vignettes, which inspired a lot of the interior spaces in here. Down here, basically this is what I consider to be the harbor office, if you will. So we have a desk, a bookshelf, there's a picture of the ship on the wall. On the other side, we have a small little tavern, which includes a wine cellar beneath and just a little eating area up top. The upper floors become more living spaces. So we have a bedroom in here with two lovely beds. And then on this side is really fun. So I've got a fireplace that actually lights up. So the fireplace feature is actually activated by just pulling down this red flag here. And that'll light up the fireplace on the inside. We got another basement down here, just a lot of empty crates, nothing too exciting. Behind these bars, there's actually more potion storage. This room was my favorite to do. There's just so many fun parts in there. Then we have this dining room with some nice furniture, the chandelier with candles up above, and it's got a balcony on the other side. So this build looks on the surface very simple, very clean, very polished, and that was the idea. But I did not realize how hard it is to achieve that look when you have fairly spacious interiors on the other side. The interiors and exteriors don't line up. For instance, there isn't a room here and there isn't a room here. There's just one big room covering this area. And same with this. Though it looks like we have the appearance of two separate buildings, the dining room actually extends into this cool yellow building as well. And that became very difficult to line up with the windows and the different colored walls, but it proved to be a really fun challenge to kind of bend reality on the inside a little bit to make these spaces as big as possible and as interesting as possible, but not to compromise the outward appearance of the whole build. When you do look through some of these windows, if you do manage to get close enough, you can actually see some of the interior inside. And granted, some of them don't line up. Some of these are there's just black behind them, but I tried to make an effort in this build just to make it really immersive, really fun to look at. I think building this gave me a new appreciation for what some of the LEGO designers do. Incorporating play features without compromising too much of the aesthetic is very difficult. And ultimately, especially when I was a kid, it's those play features that make the set interesting. And so I kind of wanted to bring some of that into here, though I will not let anybody but myself play with this, of course. In terms of building techniques, there's not really too much complex or definitely not anything illegal happening here. There's a lot of math and precision that's hard to understand unless you've built a medieval building before, because it's all about lining everything up in just the right way to make sure there's no obvious gaps. And that was the hardest thing about this build. When you especially have the interior and the exterior space and all these wooden struts around everything, making sure that measurements are just perfect. And one of the other reasons that things had to measure up just right is because this is actually a modular piece. Originally, I had this idea of the sections could be maybe interchanged. That's really, really hard to do, I found, but it does come apart for easier transportation, because otherwise this is a very tall, kind of awkward model that would almost have to be laid down to be transported everywhere. But however, these sections just pop off like that. I don't think there's any minifigures that can show this. The surface is completely tiled off. On the underside of the next level is just a pile of plates, basically, that sinks into these sections to prevent it from going back and forth. And there you are. There's the pile of plates. And so that continues down throughout the model. Oh, this was the first interior I did on this build, so I went quite ham, going so far as to detail the roof with some logs overhead. There's actually a swinging lantern in there as well. And of course, one of those bookshelves that was pretty much stolen from Diagon Alley. And there's the other side. I added like a few windows on the sides just to give the sides some detail. For the most part though, the sides are pretty flat. I wanted to give the illusion that this was part of a continuous wall. Will I ever add more? No, probably not. It's crazy, but I was actually running out of colors, or at least colors that I had enough brick in to make a proper house. So yeah, that brings us to the bottom. Why is it doing that? And you can get a better look, thick gradient tile. It's a super easy technique to do. An azure, medium azure, and then blue, just bright blue, and that's it. And all across this are the transparent tiles. Underneath, I intentionally left some extra space down here, in which I would store the minifigures for the set or any of the loose furniture. There are a few loose loose tables and chairs, and they can fit down here comfortably. Oh wow. I must have set this on top of a little 1x1 at some point. Let me reconstruct this real fast. The big thing with this build was, how do I bring some interest to a theme that is perhaps a little overdone? You know, the gray castle sitting by the lake, ocean, river, whatever. So this was a very interesting take. It's in different shape, playing with a lot of verticality and with a lot of colors. And this is definitely something I would like to see from the LEGO Castle community a little bit more. How many colors can you incorporate into a castle build and still make it look cohesive? That was the game I was trying to play here, and I was really happy with the final result, even if I could not photograph the thing. And that's why we're here, making a video. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.